Almost no one knows it, but the same company that has quietly teamed up with one of the biggest names in racing also produces cost-effective products for the average enthusiast. That means you and I. While Motegi Wheels may not get all the street cred like Work or BBS, they've done some pretty big things in their 20-something years of operation. Today, we're taking a look at Motegi to answer the question, are they worth it? In this series, we give our opinion on whether it's worth it for you to spend your hard-earned money on various brands or parts or wheels or anything car related. By the end, you'll know their background, their engineering accomplishments, and some of the cool stuff that they've got going on today. We're even going to take a small detour in this one to explore the famous MB Battle Wheel and how it relates to Motegi. Motegi Racing Wheels is owned by Wheel Pros, aka Hoonigan. If you're not familiar with Wheel Pros, they are a massive private equity-backed conglomerate that owns a lot of wheel brands. Even if you're new to the wheel game, you're bound to know at least a few of their brands in their portfolio. Niche, American Racing, Rotiform, TSW, and a lot more. Editor, you should put a roll right here. They have a lot of brands. The main difference between Motegi and the other brands is that it was conceived internally rather than being purchased by Wheel Pros. So, unlike the others, Motegi doesn't have a history before its creation in 2003. The name was inspired by the famous Twin Ring Motegi circuit located a couple hours north of Tokyo. But don't get it confused. Motegi was never a Japanese company. They were originally based out of California, but now, according to their website, they are headquartered in Colorado with the rest of the Wheel Pros brands. One of the advantages of being part of a massive company is having the connections that come with it. Right out of the gate, Motegi was supplying wheels for various motorsport teams, mainly focusing on rally and drift. Rally is probably one of the most rigorous forms of motorsport for the vehicle and its constituent parts. If you want trial by fire, rally is probably the way to do it. Putting the wheels through real-world testing created a feedback loop, allowing them to rapidly improve their products. These refinements would then trickle down into the rest of their line. But what exactly did Motegi offer at the time? This was the early 2000s, so Fast and Furious, Nopey, Hot Import Night style builds were all the rage. Huge body kits, wings big enough to use as a dinner table, and underglow were the norm. People wanted wheels to match the energy of that style of build, so that's what Motegi made. It was at least about half of what they made. Not surprisingly, big, flashy chrome wheels were not as popular with the serious racing crowd, so the other half of Motegi's product line was a little bit more subtle and a little bit more performance-oriented. Their early catalog included things that have been phased out, like the FF5, a split 5-spoke, and also some others that remain to this day, like the Tracklight and MR7, which we're going to talk more about later. The flashy chrome stuff started to fade out of fashion, and Motegi continued with their motorsports programs while offering what they called street performance variants to the wider mass market. Since then, Motegi has stayed true to their racing-inspired designs, landing ever more prestigious deals with motorsport teams along the way. We've mentioned, of course, their involvement with drifting and rally racing. Motegi was the wheel provider for Tanner Faust in his 350Z and Dai Yoshihara in his S13 from the inaugural year of Formula Drift in 2004. Both drivers would go on to have numerous podium finishes while driving cars on Motegi wheels. Tanner Faust is probably most well known as a rallycross driver, where Motegi also sponsored him in his STI and later his Ford Fiesta. Many podium finishes would follow once again, and what better way to torture test a wheel than rally racing? This is great for the first few years, but it wouldn't take long before Motegi started landing more and even larger deals. Circa 2010, Motegi wheels started to be seen on various GT3 cars. No, not the Porsche, notably on Mercedes, AMG, and Ferrari race cars. They collaborated with Ferrari to develop the MR360 Technomesh, and by 2017, they'd become the official technical partner for Ferrari. Following a change in FIA regulations, Motegi was tasked with making forged aluminum wheels that would compare to magnesium. While the MR630 was exclusive to Ferrari and never made into a road-going version, you can bet that a whole bunch of the R&D from that wheel, and they probably spent a lot of money doing it, trickled down into the rest of Motegi's lineup. At this time, they took a bit of a hiatus from the mass market products, focusing more on motorsports. That's not to say they didn't produce customer level products at all during this time, they just weren't particularly active, didn't make a ton of sizes or colors or do any really innovative stuff. They did, however, make a strong comeback a few years later. In 2022, Rotiform, another Wheel Pros brand, took the reins for the Ferrari partnership. But that doesn't mean that Motegi has ceased its motorsport ambitions. They are still involved in all of the same disciplines, even teaming up with Mazda Motorsports to provide wheels for their Daytona prototype. Motegi emphasizes performance-oriented, track-tested wheels. From the outset, they made both cast and forged options, later getting into flow-form technology. We have done plenty of content on the different types of wheel construction, so we're not going to beat a dead horse. If you're interested, we'll put a link in the description down below. The gist here, cast is affordable and good for street-driven cars, forged are the strongest and lightest, best for track cars, and that reflects obviously in the price, and flow-formed wheels are kind of like the Goldilocks. They're somewhere in between the cast and the forge, offering a price point typically in the sub $2,000 range while offering performance that is fairly close to forged wheels. The last option, of course, is multi-piece wheels, and rather than a three-piece design, Motegi only offers two-piece forge. This stays true to their racing focus. Three-piece wheels tend to be heavier than others and are not particularly desirable in a motorsport application, while two-piece forged are more comparable to monoblock wheels while allowing customization of offset down to millimeter. So why go two-piece forged over monoblock? Well, they can be made pretty much literally any spec you can think of. Think like custom wide-body track cars where off-the-shelf sizing just won't cut it, or specific brake clearances that are needed, or specific, anything really. If their work in motorsport doesn't give them enough credibility, Motegi wheels also carry JWL and VIA certifications, typical of any high-quality wheel product. So now we're going to talk about probably their most famous wheel that wasn't really theirs, but kind of was. It has a history so convoluted it probably deserves its own YouTube video, and maybe we'll make one. Believe it or not, Motegi started what most know as the MB Battle wheel, calling it the MR7. This wheel often gets called a rep of the Advan ABS Model 7, originally produced in the 1990s, and sure, the design is pretty similar, but Motegi actually kind of made it better. They offered better specs, deeper concave, an all-around more suitable wheel for the times, and frankly, it just looks better. Things got a little confusing around 2010 when the MR7 started appearing under different names. In Japan, they were sold as the CST Hyper 01, while in North America, it was the MB Battle. The Battle, 01, and MR7 are all the same wheel. They are cast in the same mold, in the same factory, in China. None of them are replicas of the other. They are the same, literally the same. So no, you overpaid for CST Hyper Zeros. There you go. It just so happens this wheel really hit its stride during the start of the stance scene. During the time they were being sold as MB Battle, so that's what most people know them as. These wheels still look so good. These have to be like a top 5 wheel of all time. Motegi bought the naming rights and relaunched them as the Motegi Battle. And they didn't just change the name, they've modernized the design a little bit. They've also added new finishes, new specs, new construction options, cast, flow formed, and forged versions, and they've even started making variants with 5 and 6 spokes. We're talking about the MR154 Battle, the MR159 Battle V, which is their 5-spoke. These come in a ton of sizes and colors. We've of course got them on the website. They are so popular, and they're a great looking wheel on pretty much any car. So how do we score Motegi wheels? Well, build quality and engineering first. The entire lineup has a lot of engineering behind it, and not a lot of people realize this. All Motegi wheels carry JWL and VIA certifications, as mentioned earlier. Cast wheels will obviously be lower quality, it's the nature of the product, but within this line, you can choose something more robust like the rally-inspired RF11, or go for something a little bit more light and nimble like the CS6. They score a solid 7 out of 10 in this category. They're not the best, they are above average. 7 out of 10 is a great place to be. How do these wheels perform in the real world, though? Well, to get an idea, we can compare one of their flow-formed wheels to something equivalent from, say, Koenig, their direct competition. A 17x8 track light from Motegi is 17.6 pounds, while the comparable hexaform from Koenig is 17.2 pounds. Really not much difference there. When you start to consider pricing and the way they look, the Motegis get even more attractive. Overall, for performance and functionality, again, they get a 7 out of 10. Guys, these are not Advans, they are not Volk racing wheels. 7 is really good, though, considering the price point. which is kind of going to bring us into our next one, the cost versus benefit. And this is probably the biggest selling point for Motegi. Their cast wheels start at about $150 for some of the clearance options. And when you get into the stuff they currently produce, they're a little bit over $200. This is a bargain considering this is a brand that used to be partnered with Ferrari. You should not expect the same performance as wheels built for the highest echelons of motorsport. They are cast after all. I mentioned this again, guys, they are not TE37s. But you can bet there are a few design elements borrowed from their high-tier products that make their way down to their street product. These are perfect for a daily driver, winter wheels, or if it's just your first set and you're modifying your car and you want something that is an original, interesting design without spending a ton of money. For around $100 more per wheel, you can step up to their flow form technology. And while their lightest wheels are not quite on par with something like Koenig or NK, the value is still there considering you will save $100 to $300 a set compared to those brands. Their final offering, the two-piece stuff, is a little bit harder to assess and quantify. Most big names that offer two-piece wheels used a mix of a forged barrel and a cast center disc, e.g. the two-piece Work in Motion line. Motegi uses a forged barrel and center, and the goal is to make a super high-performance track wheel, but starting at about $1,000 a piece. It's really hard to recommend them over like a lot of other stuff that, to be frank with you guys, is just probably a better product. You can, at that point, buy a TE37 or an Advan GT, and I just would. Two-piece wheels can be made to any spec that you want, so one situation where it could make sense is if you can't find a forged monoblock in the design you like and the specs that you want. Imagine you're building like a custom wide-body track car. In this case, Motegi's multi-piece wheels are really the only option, but with that said, again, personal opinion, Motegi, please don't sue me, I just think there's better wheels for the money. All that said, we give them a 9 out of 10 in the price category. It's really hard to beat them on the cast and flow form stuff. Aesthetics and brand reputation wise, this is really the only place where Motegi starts to fall a little bit short. For most of its existence, Motegi has focused on two things: high-level racing and super affordable products, and that leaves a bit of a gap at the grassroots and kind of semi-pro levels. They might be known amongst decision makers on race teams, but less so at your local track, at least when compared with a brand like NK or Apex. It also doesn't really help that credit for the battle often goes to MB, not Motegi, even though Motegi started it, or Yokohama, depending on who you've asked and what your definition of a replica is. That said, the battles and their variants come in a whole bunch of colors, but we did notice fewer options for the rest of their lineup. Compare this to a brand like ESR or like Stage, where you get like 3 or 4 color choices, sizing choices, PCDs, diameters, everything that they make. You get about a 6 out of 10 in this category. The only other thing, this is not noted in our guide, it's just personal opinion, Motegi's been sold in tire shops like America's Tire for the longest, and wheels that are sold in those shops, despite their shops being really good, tend to score a little bit lower with enthusiasts. So how does Motegi score on things like customer support and warranty? Well, if you have technical questions about any of their products, for example, will X wheel clear my brakes, you can expect a timely response. That means you contact us, we contact them, they get back to us, we get you the info. If you're looking for general fitment info for a particular platform, check out our vehicle gallery and our fitment guides. We probably covered your car there. So you can save an email and just scroll through and be like, hey, I like that one, and buy the wheels for it. Motegi wheels come with the same terms as most other Wheel Pros brands. That means you get a 1-year warranty against structural failures, which is pretty standard. Where they do gain some extra points is in their cosmetic warranties. They do offer up to 2 years of warranty against finish defects. That depends obviously on the finish type, and reminder guys, if you use like harsh acids or something, that typically avoids the warranty. They earn an 8 out of 10 in this category. People are generally satisfied. We didn't read any horror stories online, so there you go. So what's the final score? Build quality and engineering, they get a 7. Performance and functionality, they get a 7. Cost versus benefit, they get a whopping 9 out of 10. Aesthetics and brand reputation, we gave Motegi a 6 here, and the ownership experience, that means customer service and warranty, an 8. That totals out to a 7.4. Overall, very solid. 7.4 out of 10. I think that was higher than my GPA in college, so there you go. So are they really worth it? Well, if you're after a nice set of wheels at a reasonable price, Motegi should do the trick. They really should be among the top 3 brands on your list. They're a great wheel, they're super affordable. The only downside that we could find is that Motegi just doesn't really get like street credit. If you care more about performance and not the name, Motegi is the perfect choice for you. If you're looking for a wheel that is recognizable at a car show or car meet and is going to get you points, probably not the brand for you. That said, the couple $100 you save, you can put towards better tires, so it might be worth it in that case. If you want to give Motegi a shot, check out our website. We have all the latest models, including the battles, listed on there. You can pick them up, we'll mount, balance, and ship them to your door, all for free. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.